All right, so 6, 7, this is kind of like yesterday in a way. They're going to give this a complicated sounding title, but realistically we can retitle this with an old familiar word. So what they're calling this is multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. What was the mono prefix? 1. So there's one term, and then it's multiplying a polynomial. This in particular has 3 terms. What's that called? Trinomial. So here we have a trinomial times a monomial. We're looking to do something that we've done probably over 1,000 times.
Is it like distributed?
It's just distributing. All we're looking to do today, instead of calling this a big long thing, I'm just going to say distribute. If you distribute today, you're going to be golden. The only difference on the distributing is, since we distributed last time, we've learned some things about multiplication. When we multiply things that have, what are these numbers called that have the powers on them? A number that goes to a power is called a base. When we get bases involved, when the bases multiply other similar bases, what have we been doing to that this chapter? Keep the base the same and do what to the exponents? Add them. And what's the invisible exponent that sits on these? There's 1. So all of these have 1s. If it makes you feel better, copy the 1s on them. If it doesn't make you feel better, don't do that. But every single one of these variables has 1s on them. So put as many 1s on them as you want to put on them. What are these numbers in front called? Big long C word. Coefficient. What are we doing with the coefficients? Multiplying them. So we're looking to multiply these coefficients, copy these bases, add these exponents, and just work your way through the problem doing that. So how would this one play out?
20x to the third.
20x to the third.
Plus 30x to the second.
Agreed.
Plus 15x.
Agreed. Question about that? So same difficulty level. Other than, I guess there's a negative, and when the negative comes through, it's going to switch all those signs.
Negative 6x to the third.
Agreed.
Negative 10 x to the second. Plus.
So you can look at this one of 2 ways. A negative times a negative
Equals a positive.
makes a positive, that's a rule. Or you could think, this will switch signs, and this was minus, and I'm going to go plus. No matter how your brain thinks, it still should get you a plus. Finish?
12x plus.
Plus. Either because we're, again, thinking about switching signs because of that, or negative times negative rule was always positive. Question about those first 2? This one's a little harder because there's 2 of them. So we're going to have to do this one. Then we're going to have to do that one. And then we're going to need to put it all together. So distribute this.
6x squared plus
10x.
minus 16.
Agreed. This is going to do some sign switching, or think about negatives multiplying positives, however you want to think about it.
Negative 12x to the third.
Agreed.
Plus 4x to the third. Or minus.
Minus 4
X to the second.
7. Agreed. We're halfway home, maybe 2/3 of the way home. Something about that distributing like. Then combine like terms. So let's go descending order. What do I mean by descending order?
Highest to lowest.
Highest to lowest based on variables powers. So what's the highest variable power you see?
3.
The 3. So negative 12x cubed, does that have any friends? No. Sometimes I like to gently cross those off as I go to make sure I don't miss them. Next highest power?
The 2.
The x2s. Is there one of those or a couple?
2.
Couple. Who do we have?
The
6 and a
-4.
Negative 4 there, positive 6 there. So positive 6, negative 4,
2x squared.
positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive 2x squared. Then look for x's.
Just the 10.
Just the 10x, so copy it. Number?
16.
Just the 16, so copy it. Make sure we bring the signs with us. Question about that. So one more run. This has A's and B's. Go ahead at it. Distribute. 10, positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Negative times positive, we're negative 10. A's and B's.
A to the third.
A 3,
B to the second.
B to 2. Agreed. 30, positive or negative?
Negative. Or positive.
Positive. Negative times negative, positive. A,
A to the, just one.
just 1, yeah.
B to the second.
B to 2, yes.
35.
35, sign.
Negative.
Negative, 35.
A and B.
A and B. Anybody first half, any problem? Second half, keep rolling. Any voice, just jump in.
3.
3,
A to the third.
A to 3,
B to the second.
B to 2, plus or minus,
Minus.
minus
12.
12,
A and B.
A and B,
Plus 6. A.
figure. Then I would look for, if you have x's, you usually go by x's. If you don't have x's, what did I tell you you usually go by? Memory?
The highest power.
Alphabetical.
Highest power of which, the A or the B?
The
A.
The A, whichever one's
Come first.
first in the alphabet usually. So we fix on the A's. Highest A's we see,
The 3.
these are the 3's. And the 3's have B's with
Twos.
2's. So those are like terms. There's a negative 3, there's a negative 10, so altogether negative 13. Keep the A to the 3, keep the B to the 2. Here's where people sometimes have problems with this lesson is the old information and the new information like conflict and crowd each other out. When you're in an adding mode, the variables don't change. You're trying to have like terms. The answers are the same like terms that the problems have. So like here when we had x squareds and x squareds, we kept x squareds. When the powers change is during a multiply part of the piece. So if you're in a multiply mode, the powers add. But if you're in an adding mode, a combining like terms mode, you don't change the variables. Next highest A's we have
Just
a bunch of them just have
They just have one.
single A's. Everybody has single A's. Are those all like terms?
No.
No. So then we use the B's as a
Tiebreaker.
tiebreaker. So what's the highest B's we have to work with?
The 2.
The 2. Anything like with that?
No.
No. So just take this plus 30, A squared B, and bring it. Then next in line we've got
The negative 35 and negative 12.
negative 35, negative 12. Those are like terms. So that's a big negative bunch up to 47 of those ABs. And then the only thing we're left with
Is a 6.
is a 6A, and that's in descending order correctly still. I don't know if we'll need, does it go the whole way, or do we need to pan right a little bit to see the answer captured? Now everybody at home is happy. So what we're doing off of this in terms of homework, there I go. So homework page, we're working 249. 249 is going to go from 1 to 20, skip a few, and then take on 28's like a little bit different. So we're 249, 1 to 20, skip, down to 28, and call that a day. There is a vocab quiz upcoming. So I don't have enough of these to just give you a spare of this. So let me just tell you, and you could jot down what the questions are, and we'll see how that works out. So there's two definitions, and then there's just like a few problems to do. So one definition we had from a couple lessons ago is, what is a monomial? Can anybody remember from a few days back what a monomial is? There's three options. It could be a variable, it could be a real number, or it could be, what's the answer called when you multiply? Product. So we'll say for what is a monomial, it's a real number, it's a variable, or it's a product of those. So that's question one tomorrow. What is a monomial? It's a real number, or it's a variable, or it's a product of those. Vocab question 2 is, what is a polynomial? So that's from 2 days ago, and we haven't refreshed this since then. Does anybody remember what made something a polynomial?
Something to do with dividing,
Yeah.
subtracting out.
With what? What did you say after I shot down dividing?
Subtracting or adding.
Yeah, what's it called when we add or subtract? The answer's called the
Sum or difference.
sum or difference. It's the sum or difference of monomials. So what is a polynomial? It's the sum or difference of monomials. Then I'm going to hit up some like problems. So I'll just clear some space and I'll give you like a sample problem. So there'll be something about like this difficulty level. So if we wanted to do an answer for this, what would you say there?
20.
20,
X to the 5.
x to the 5,
Y to the 6.
y to the 6 is correct. Anybody not get how he pulled that one? Need me to leave that linger on the board a sec, or we good on that? Then I'll switch you into a divide mode. So let me go 14, 7, x, y, 4, something like that. If we divide that, what do you think about that? 2,
X.
x.
And then Y to the negative 3.
I'd go y to the negative 3. Anything about that that's a concern? And maybe something like this. Some problem that's kind of like that style of a question. What do you think about this one?
32 X to the 12.
X to the 12 I like, 32 I'll shoot down.
8x?
Shooting down to 8.
16.
How 16?
It's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.
Agreed. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, that would be 16 x to the 12. Something like this. I might ask you to throw that in the scientific notation.
2.34
2.34.
times 10 to the 5.
5, I agree. Anybody need a refresh on that? Then maybe something like this. So I give you something like that to do out.
24 times 10 to the 11.
24 times 10 to the 11th, but then if I insist that it stays in scientific notation, we have a little bit of an issue with that.
2.4.
Make that smaller.
And then to the 10.
If one gets smaller, the other one gets
Bigger.
bigger. 12. So something like that. Then the other ones I don't think I'll make up a problem because we kind of like just did that. So there'll be a question where it'll say to add polynomials. So we just did that on the homework we handed in, the 1 to 6. It's like those. Then there'll be a subtract problem. So I'm not going to make one up for that. It's like the homework we just turned in, like 7 and 12. Make sure you switch the signs of the second one and go. And then there'll be one question, kind of like the ones I erased where we were distributing. There will be something like that. So there's 2 vocabs, and then it's just like a little bit from each lesson. Make sure we're still current in this chapter. A multiply problem, a divide problem, a powers problem, a scientific notation problem, a scientific notation problem where you do a little math, an adding problem, a subtracting problem, and then one of these brand new ones. So we'll start the period with that. Just memorize the 2 vocabs and just be ready to demonstrate that we still have a grip on the chapter. I think I have one of these each day for coming days, just like a little mini quiz to just keep us in tune. Question about that? That'll be 10-point grade. Okay. That's all we got. Shut that down.